Hello everyone, Crash here, and we're going to do a little unboxing today. Although this is a little untraditional because it's not directly from the manufacturer themselves. It's mainly, I guess you would say, a product showcase. I picked this up opened, let's just say. It wasn't used, it was opened on the forum with someone who ended up selling the vehicle and had no real use for this anymore. But yeah, let's roll that intro and then we'll get right into it. Alright everyone, so what is in the box? Well, if you saw the description of the video or even just the title, more than likely you already know. It is they are cutouts actually, and they are made by Raceland. They're not really expensive ones, not like QTP or even DMH or even some other brands that are out there. This is kind of a version that's more known to be seen on, I guess you would say, eBay and whatnot, but they looked pretty neat. They function a little differently than some of the others that are out there, so they caught my attention. And besides, I got a crazy deal on these with the forum members, so I figured, hell, they're worth the try, you know. So yeah, we're gonna open them up and we're gonna take a quick look at them, and probably within the next week or so we're gonna get them thrown on the V. So let's take out the knife and we'll get going here. Now, if you haven't joined it yet, and you are a CTS-V owner, I definitely recommend going to CadillacOwners.com. It's a good website, good resources for information regarding the cars. If anything ever happens with your car, you hear a funny noise or anything like that, almost everything has already been asked and answered on that forum. There's a lot of guys in there that have a lot of good information about our cars and are very knowledgeable about our cars. So, but in general, you know, if you own a car of any kind, you know, from Kia Optimus to whatever, there's basically a forum on your vehicle, and I highly recommend you join, you know, forums, not only to interact with other people that have the same vehicle as you, but there's just so much information out there. It saved my butt in almost every single vehicle I've ever owned regarding random weird problems. And if you're not that mechanically inclined at all, it should be essential, because if you have any problems with the car, you could ask people that have already been through it. And some people that are on forums actually work for the manufacturers themselves as designers and engineers, and sometimes they chime in too. So, you know, definitely get on your local forums and start meeting people. You know, just so we can make the car ownership experiences a little less stressful, and that way you don't get ripped off every time you bring your car to a mechanic because they're telling you need to change your headlight fluid or something completely crazy like that. Here, we'll go one bag at a time. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this. There we go. Shout out to the forum member that sold me this, man. He packaged this really well. So a lot of bubble wrapping on here. I kind of feel bad for the deal that I got. I mean, obviously he needed to get rid of it, and he was happy with the price I paid, but I know shipping is not cheap these days, and looks like he definitely went the extra length with wrapping. And you know, that's another good thing about forums too. You could buy things on there from other forum members, and no one wants to be tagged as someone that's selling stuff that is not packaged well or wasn't like in the description or anything like that. So people tend to take care of each other on the forums a little bit more. Let's see, this looks like it is The cabling, I'm definitely not going to use a cigarette lighter. But this looks like it's one wiring harness, another wiring harness to a cigarette lighter type deal. You got, now this was neat. I mean, I know it's you know, it's a cheaper cutout in design and whatnot. You know, I'm not saying it's better than any other one. Definitely a lot of people that have purchased this type of cutout in other vehicle forums and other videos, they all seem to have a lot of praise for it and how well it works, how fast the flaps open and close, and that they haven't had a failure. So, you know, with any object, there's always going to be failures out there, and I couldn't find too many of them that would have swayed me from the deal that I got. But the remotes are actually really nice. If you could take a look at it, kind of reminds me of like an Infinity remote here. You can see A and B on there. I'm guessing that's open and close, of course. And has pretty good weight to it. It doesn't feel like a piece of plastic. Plastic has a nice texture on it. But as soon as I opened it up and I took a look at it, it just reminded me of the Infinity, like the G37 remote. So if you have one of those, or if you've seen one of those, it's kind of what it feels and looks like. Of course, a lot smaller, but just what it reminded me of. You know, kind of go along with the CTS-V remote, or just a Cadillac key fob. Kind of similar in design, you know, black face with chrome accents. And this is the module itself that will power it, and I guess take the wireless signal. I'm not really sure what's up with the wire ties on the sides. I'm not sure if that's two separate, kind of looks like it's two separate modules. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so that's why there's wire ties. You have two separate modules here that are wire tied together. They're wire tied so well together, it almost look like one module all together. So that's cool. I'm probably going to wire everything up in the trunk. And, oh, that's awesome. And he gave me the warranty information because he never got to use it himself, and it's still new. So that's awesome. He didn't even have to do that. Look at that. Thanks. I really appreciate it. All right, so we got the fun little stuff out of the way. Now we're going to go to the business products here. All right. It's like Christmas. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, I'm kind of all over the place as far as what I do. It's mainly just cars, you know, whether in the virtual form or in the physical form. I do a lot of videos about sim racing lately and sim racing products and reviews, and my DIY rig that I'm still building, still working on. I don't think I'll ever finish that thing, but I'm sure that rig is going to constantly evolve over the years. But also I have videos regarding my WRX that I owned prior that I modded to, you know, heck on there. And I'm starting to put videos up of my CTS-V that I own now. I did a 5-month review on it, just a nice ownership experience. If you're thinking about buying one, you probably should watch the video. I make a lot of good points on there that another CTS-V owner was kind enough to say that I hit the nail on the head, because there's a lot of complaints out there regarding things like the seat comfort of the Recaros and, you know, stuff that was almost swaying my vote and swaying my purchase when I was looking for the car. And so if you have if you're in the market, I'll definitely suggest looking at that video. But here's the first cutout, and it's a nice looking pipe design here. I'm really appreciating that it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be much longer, much more width to it, and it's actually, you know, pretty compact compared to the image that I had in my mind. So very happy about that. The welds look pretty good. Now, if you could see the motor design here, it's different looking than, you know, what you find with the QTP or the DMH. I am getting squeezed here by this box. I'm going to get rid of this box here for a moment. Now, with the QTP and the DMH, you have a smaller motor, about the size of that, maybe a little bit smaller, going sideways into where the flap is. So it'd be kind of hanging out like this, and then you have the actual valve in there, and that's what would spin the valve itself. With this one here, you have kind of like the motor going into a wheel, and it seems like that gear or whatever that is in there kind of looks like a gear. That's actually what spins it. And you know, whether or not it's kind of like the same deal or you know, causes less motor wear or more motor wear, I have no idea. But you know, there's a lot of praise on it, especially like the ones that I was seeing were guys in the Volkswagen community, and you know, those guys seem to do a lot of builds on their car and focus on cleanness and stuff like that. I'm not really too familiar with the VW community, but you know, it seems really nice. I mean, I'm really digging this. And you could see the valve in there. The welds are actually pretty nice. I'm not exactly sure what that bottom weld there is all about. I don't know what the heck that is. I mean, you know, whether they thought this valve was gonna keep spinning or whatnot, but it looks like a stopper in there for when the valve closes. But either way, like, you know, you have these welds here. It obviously looks like it's done by hand, and looks pretty darn clean. Let's see if we could. Yeah, you are not pushing that open by hand. There doesn't seem to be any play from the motor. Okay, and this is the motor design here. We'll try to see if we could get underneath. It looks pretty clean. You know, I would imagine with especially the heat that comes out of the exhaust of my car, most of that's going to get burned off. I don't imagine that's going to stay like that for a long time. So, and see if we could see down into the pipe itself. And you could see how it's straight through right to the stock exhaust, and then you do have that Y that goes into the cutout. So pretty neat design, pretty clean. You know, even the welds that are on here, it's not the best welds in the world, but they're pretty darn clean. You know, not too bad. Especially for a cheaper product. You know, sometimes you really gotta worry about the welds on these cheaper products. Sometimes, you know, when you get products from eBay, not necessarily made in China or made wherever, doesn't much matter. You know, if they're gonna put out a crappy weld, they'll put out a crappy weld. You know, no matter what company it is. Sometimes I see some welds and they have a crack going right down the middle of it, and they shipped it like that anyway. Where you see just spotty welds and it looks like you know, they didn't have the temperature right or the voltage right when they were welding, and they got like slag all over the place. Pieces of wire. The weld looks like it's jumping back and forth, and they go and they ship it out like that, you know. So this one here doesn't look half bad. Actually, pretty happy. Oop, don't want to send that one off the table. So this is the other one, because of course the car has two exhaust pipes. Sorry for your ears if this is really loud. It's kind of just off the cuff. I guess you cannot deny that I didn't do this in a few takes. So, you know, if you're wondering, it's like, why aren't you just doing cutouts, and why aren't you getting a different exhaust or anything like that? Well, a lot of guys, to be honest, on the CTS-V community do cutouts, and they, you know, don't do aftermarket exhausts because our exhaust has been proven to be pretty darn good flowing. And, you know, with a lot of aftermarket exhausts, the main difference comes in horsepower wise when they change like the mid pipe and they go to an X pipe, or if they change the cats, or if they change the manifolds over to you know, you got those high flow pipes. Wow, my brain just completely stopped on me. To high flow headers, that's and you know, so that's where the big performance gain comes in, not necessarily changing the mufflers themselves. So, you know, I wasn't looking to buy a complete new exhaust system, and you know, a lot of people don't. They just put on these cutouts. And one thing I will say is there's a consensus right now in the forums. I don't have proof, I haven't dynoed my car, that downpipes on our cars also don't really cause a net performance gain. It's mainly for sound, and sometimes I do want a lot of sound, but then again, I want to keep the car quiet for when I have my family or my lady in the car. And so, you know, the car is kind of like going to be dual purpose at the switch of a button, and I really like that idea. So yeah, here's the other one. You can see the valve there. You got that same sort of welded in stopper there. This is the motor design again. Pretty much looks identical to the other one. It's not like a mirror image or anything like that. Let's try to get the top here. And again, you can see right down into the pipe with the Y off. So hopefully soon I'm gonna get these on the car. I'm probably gonna, you know, being that the modules only go to a cigarette lighter, I'm probably just going to plug them right in just a little bit and test them and make sure they work. So let's run out to the future holding place for this, the CTS, and let's plug them in, as a matter of fact, and see how they work. Here we go. Hey guys, Crash here, and you know, now we're in the CTS-V. And I do have other videos of this car up. It's a 2013 CTS-V sedan. I have a 5-month review of, you know, just my opinions and ideas of what the car is to me and how well it suits my life. Definitely go check that out. I also have a dyno video of the car where I just did a baseline, you know, stock, everything, no cold air intake, just completely stock when I first got the car. But yeah, I managed to cut my finger already. I don't even know how. I just looked at this pipe and I noticed some blood on it, little drops of blood, and I'm like, what in the hell? And I looked at my finger and there's a cut. The edge of this pipe, just like any other metal cutoff pipe, is very sharp. So it'll cut you and you won't even know it. So definitely be careful running your fingers on the edge of the pipe. I didn't actually mean to run my finger on the edge of it. It just so happened to happen, and cut myself. So now I'm gonna have to check everything when I go back into my place and make sure I didn't freaking leave a blood trail everywhere. So anyway, because it's not bleeding right now, we are going to plug these in and see if they work. So, you know, like I said, right now it's wired up for power from the cigarette lighter, which is going to change. I'm not going to do that. Not in this car. But, you know, it's very simple. It's just power and ground. But to make a long story short, it makes it easy for testing them when you get them. You just plug them in your car and test them. So we got them both plugged in. If you know, most cars now have 2 cigarette lighter type of accessory power in the front of the car. So we got the car on accessory mode right now. I got this one plugged in, and let's see what happens, if anything at all. Alright, so it seems to be remote specific, and there's got to be a way to program the other remote, because this remote here, I would imagine, is going to do that one. That's pretty darn neat, and it does move quick too. Wow. So yeah, anyway, I'm like captivated by it. I was reading on their website that you can program one remote to do multiple cutouts. So I'm going to show you here. We have you can see the little flap there, and that's open and closed, obviously. And you can see just the reaction time of it and how fast it opens and closes. It's pretty darn neat. And hopefully you could see into the Y section of it. And there is the pipe open and close. So pretty darn happy with it. So now we're going to plug in the other one, and hopefully it does the same. Hopefully it works as well. And I'm going to use the other module, so that way we can test both modules. I like how it has a little power indicator on it, showing that it's actually receiving power. So now we have the other one here. Interesting. So I guess unless one remote is just dead, even though I do see a light on it. Not exactly sure, but I am this one remote here. Maybe you have to self-program them. I don't know. I'm gonna try to pull up the instructions when I get home, when I get back to my home inside the office there. I'm gonna pull up the instructions and see how to program them, because one remote's not sending a signal, which is no big deal because all I need is one remote. But the light is turning on, so I would imagine it's just as easy as it's not paired with this module. But this remote here is actually opening and closing both of them. So yeah, it does work as described. And you can see this one here. And you hear that they're really simultaneous. I'm gonna try to pancake them here so you can see them both. There you go. You don't get much better than that. So they work, and they both work. And you know, for the deal that I got, and I keep saying the deal that I got, but you know, in my channel, I don't do things necessarily ghetto, but I do things on the cheap. And it's because I don't like paying full price for anything. And I just get very excited by getting good deals and buying things, you know, from other forum members, and kind of like one hand washes the other thing. He needed to get rid of it. I got a good deal. We're both happy. And that just makes me excited as hell. And, you know, with the price that I paid for it, I was painting this picture in my mind that I was going to open up one motor and kind of see what's going on, because I kind of figured one of them wasn't working. Not that I thought it was his fault or anything like that. I just, you know, sometimes it feels like a deal's too good to be true. But they both work. So I am absolutely astounded and excited. I can't wait to get these things put on the car. I'm probably going to get them welded in. I was thinking about just cutting out the section of the exhaust pipe on both sides and just band clamping them in. but I'm probably just going to get them welded in. There's no reason to really mess around with that. So yeah, crash here from the CTS-V. We got the Raceland cutouts, and hope you enjoyed. Hope this kind of serves any information to you. I'm going to do a review later on after I get them installed and had them for a little bit of time, and we'll go from there. So, you know, stay tuned, subscribe, ask any questions in the video. Check out my other videos if you have any further questions about this car or my old WRX I had, or even my sim racing rig. So if you're a sim racer or just a racer in general, race on.